what's it been like to see Taj on the coaching side and bringing that side of his game?
I mean, they've just, I mean, it's, I don't have enough words for what they've meant to the program, honestly. I mean, Taj was my first quarterback. He was a part of the Dandy Dozen, and, you know, just helped us build a great foundation and helped us do things that had never been done and things that we hadn't done in forever around here, winning 10 games for the first time in 20 years, winning the ACC for the first time in 20 years. These are things now that you think about that, I mean, you go 20 years. Now we don't win one in 2 years, and it's, we don't go to the playoff in 3 years or Final Four. It's like, what's wrong with everybody? So he did some things that were pretty special from a program standpoint. Great leader. He's a Clemson man. I mean, he really has just done an awesome job, and it's been fun now to be able to do life with him on this side of things and watch him grow as a coach. I mean, he's really, really talented. He's really gifted. He's very smart, understands the game. He's great, with the kids. He connects very well. Obviously, he loves Clemson and really believes in who we are as a program. So, it's just been awesome. Again, to watch what he did through his program and watch how he handled some adversity and some success, but to see him walk off that field and lead us to our first BCS win against Ohio State there in that Orange Bowl, was a pretty special moment. To see him as a father now and is really special. And then Sammy Watkins, he came here. I always say he's the most low-maintenance superstar I've ever recruited. I would probably say he and Trevor Lawrence. Just, I mean, zero drama, zero anything. I mean, just showed up, ready to go. And just a great worker and truly he's just a beautiful football player. I mean, just amazing to watch him practice. I mean, just different from the time he got here, and every single week that he was on the field, he created problems for people. I think about the kick return he had up in Maryland to help bring us back up there. It was unbelievable. I think we were down 18 maybe twice in that game, and I think about his first catch. He just ran a hitch, and he took it to the house. I think about the RPO. This is kind of when RPOs were just kind of coming about that we hit on Georgia on the Bang 8, and just so many great plays from Sammy Watkins. Obviously, the way he finished his career with a record in the Orange Bowl, all the catches that he had. I mean, he was just amazing. I remember on the headsets vividly. We ran a little play early in the game. Might have been the first series or second series. Taj Boyd rips off like a 40-yard run, and they couldn't catch him. And I remember, this is early, I'm on the headsets. I was like, boys, if they ain't catching Taj, they're in trouble. They ain't catching none of the rest of these dudes. And Sammy was a problem. So just a great human being, one of my favorite guys. And same thing with him. I got a chance to be back in that same stadium and watch him make two of the biggest plays in the game in the Super Bowl to win the Super Bowl. I got a chance to see that live. He's a great father. He's a great husband. I mean, he's a great spirit. Love talking to him, and certainly incredibly deserving of this. But he was one of those guys that helped change us. He came in, he and Nuke. And that whole group of receivers, Martavis and Adam Humphreys and Sharon, Jerron Brown, that whole little group that we had back in 2011, which was Sammy's freshman year, just kind of helped put us on another level with Taj Boyd back there running the show. It was something to behold.
Sammy wants to come back here at some point and coach.
Yeah, he wants, trying to get him to. Want him to come. We've talked about timing and all that. His kids are athletes. He's got some competitive athletes that he's got a lot going on there. But he does want to finish school at some point. So I've been trying to get him to come back and help us out and finish up. So we'll see.
Do you remember Sammy coming to camp? I kind of remember.
Yeah.
walking out here and Jeff kind of nodding over that way, saying, "What'd you think about him the first time you saw him in person?"
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I had not seen him in person. Seen some tape, but he comes over and Brad Scott was recruiting him, and Brad was telling me all about him, and I watched him in our drills, and I was like, I mean, first of all, his work ethic was unbelievable. I remember he had on like a white T-shirt, and by the end of the day, it was just filthy and kind of torn, but he took 1,000,000 reps. I mean, he couldn't get enough reps. Everybody was practicing here, and Sammy practiced there. That was just the speed that he practiced at in camp. I mean, it was just it was amazing to watch him, and I couldn't believe how polished he was, how technically advanced he was. I mean, it was just easy. He was just such an easy guy to coach. He just got it, and he could do anything you needed him to do. He could do it. He just got it. I mean, he was so far ahead of most kids from a technical fundamental standpoint, and then you put in just the explosiveness that he had and the stickiness that he had with his ball skills, and you just knew this guy was going to be different. And I mean, I remember we came in that summer. I remember going into the 11th season. Dwayne Allen was like, Dwayne Allen was the guy that, he'd let me. He was captain type guy. He'd let me know what's going on. He's like, let me just tell you, this guy, Coach, we ain't got nobody like this guy. I mean, we had some dudes around here. He's like, he's unbelievable. Because you never know. You never know how a guy's going to translate, especially when you start loading up scheme and and then just making an adjustment to where everybody's really can be a peer to him, athletically at least. But it didn't take long. I mean, literally, I think it was like day 2. We're like, this has got to go at least 2 days. I mean, this guy's he was just amazing. So great player, great career. Definite true Hall of Famer. Well deserved.
A little bit more insight you mentioned on the radio show, like the voting thing and how Paul Journey has kind of coordinated all that. Just so many guys on the roster and out-of-state guys, like how they kind of led the charge.
They do a good job with that. I mean, they as far as like bringing people in to speak and getting everybody registered. They get like accountability points if they register and just really good education process to try to make sure they understand what how important it is, and then how to do early voting and all that type of stuff. So something they do a good job with.
Are you an early voting guy yourself, or what's kind of?
No, I don't even know how to do that. I'll go vote Tuesday. Fortunately, we live here in Clemson, South Carolina, so it's not too taxing of a process. But yeah, I don't even know where I'm supposed to go, but Kath will tell me. But I'll get that done sometime
with Tyler,
during the day.
With Tyler Brown, has there been any conversation about maybe potentially redshirting him with his injury?
That's a possibility for sure. I mean, with where he is and the amount of games that he's played, and we've got 5 games left. So, yeah, I mean, if he misses a couple more, then that's a decision. But those are real-time things. You got to try to win the game you're playing, and you don't ever know what your situation is going to look like in 2 weeks. And so, certainly something we can look at. But that'd be great if we could. But we just got to. It's a kind of a real-time decision based on your personnel.
Do you like that new redshirt rule where, like, just take Tyler, for instance, he could play 4 games and then play in an ACC championship and potentially 4 playoff games and still redshirt?
Yeah, I love it. If we didn't have it, we'd all be in trouble in college football. The reason we have that rule is because you didn't have kids available to play in bowl games, and now all of a sudden you're having a kid that's redshirted. Maybe you're having to burn a red shirt just because you don't have anybody else in the bowl game. I can't remember who there was a quarterback. I don't know where it was. This is several years back, but they didn't have anybody else. And he had to give up a year to be the quarterback in the bowl game. And that's kind of what I think led to the 4-game rule. I don't remember who that was. For some reason I want to say it was Ole Miss. I don't know why I'm thinking that. But it was a kid that hadn't played all year. He was redshirt, and they played him in the bowl games. They didn't have a quarterback. And he lost a year of eligibility. So they they ended up, that kind of helped, I think. Coaches had pushed for that forever through the AFCA. And that's when they came out with the 4-game rule. And we're like, this is awesome, because at least it gives you some time, you know, to figure some things out. And it also gave you a chance to, like, you know, we did that with Skowski that year, remember? You know, we were able to hold him. He had the best gig going, right? He came back and he played the last, I think he played in 1 game against Georgia Tech, and then he played the last 3 games and all the postseason, all the way to the national championship, and saved his year. So I think that was good. And then you had, again, unintended consequences. Now you had guys, you know, now the other side of it comes and you say, okay, I'm playing for it, I'm redshirt. Or I'm opting out, you know, because I want to keep my year. So you see that all over college football now. We've had that here. And, you know, that was kind of an unintended aspect of it. But then with the way the portal has come about and the windows, you know, there's a lot of teams now that, I mean, every Final Four team had kids opt out last year. So, you know, they did. That's part of the reason why they said, okay, it's 4 games plus the postseason doesn't count, because, you know, if a kid played 4 games and now you got 5 guys that have gone in the portal and left, and you're trying to play a postseason game, just health and safety of your team. But this kid's already played 4 games. You don't want to have to burn a whole year for 1 game. So that's kind of, I think, drove that. And honestly, I hope they do away with all that. I wish they'd just go 5 years and be done with it. Just let everybody play 5 years, and just clean it up, you know, so you don't have, you know, guys that are 26, you know, and, you know, all the medicals and all the stuff. Just you get 5 years, and I think that would really clean things up for everyone. And I think it would stop a lot of the opt-outs too, you know, because I get it, you know, if a kid's not happy where he's at and he's played 4 games and he wants to move on, wants to save his year, I get that. But in this, if you just went to 5 years, guys would play, and so now that keeps your rosters a little bit more intact, you know, to finish the season. So that's something that I don't know where that is on the docket, but I would love to see that. Just get 5 years. You know, you play 5 years. It doesn't matter how many games you play, whatever. You get 5 years. So that would eliminate some of that stuff. Because you do get in a situation with a couple kids where you're like, guys, he's played 3 games or 4 games, and man, you'd like to hold him, but you've got 3 games left, and all of a sudden you really need him for that game, you know. So if you had that 5 years, it really wouldn't matter. You know, you could, you know, your special teams, and now we're going to 105, and how rosters at 105, that's going to be a problem, because the rosters are going to go like that. You know, and it's not the NFL where you can always stay at 105, whatever your number is, right? We don't have access to players, so your roster's going to dwindle down. And if you've got some guys that are trying to redshirt or whatever, that's why I wish they'd just do away with that, so you could just keep the depth best possible available.
You would keep the medical redshirt?
Keep the medical redshirt?
Yeah, in case
well,
of
I would,
stuff.
yeah, I would say if a guy lost a year due to an injury, you know, maybe you get 1 medical opportunity, but, you know, 5, because right now what it is, if you redshirt and then you lose a year to injury, you can get a medical. So like Cole Turner, for example, he's got another year if he wants it. Basically he could be a redshirt freshman right now and could have 3 years left. On his clock, he's a redshirt sophomore, but because he redshirted and then last year he was done by, you know, game 1 or whatever it was, 1 and a quarter. He could get that year back. But I just think 5 years, it would clean it up. Maybe you get 1 medical opportunity, and then that way you at least can manage the rosters, and then everybody could play. Kids don't have to feel like they got to leave or they got to stop playing. You know, because, again, I get that side of it too. If they're not happy or they don't like their situation, they don't want to waste a year. You know, that way they can keep playing and keep developing, and then they can move on afterwards and not lose anything.
Take a couple more for Coach.
Where do you see the most development from Kade this year?
The most development
Yeah,
is
like
take care of the ball, good decision making. I mean, it's really that simple. I mean, last year just too many negative plays, and that's just decision making. Whether it was run game, taking TFLs, he took too many sacks, 100% on him. Obviously, we had too many turnovers, fumbles in particular by him. You know, he wasn't terrible throwing interceptions, but he had a few, you know, bad ones. He's just been a much better decision maker, and he's just, you know, cut down on all the avoidable negative plays, and he's taking care of the ball, you know, so much better. You know, games just slowed down for him.
How much of that is the game has slowed down versus, like, I don't know how many times last year do you feel like he was like, I gotta make this play, I gotta be a superstar on this one, as opposed to maybe now he kind of realizes the bigger picture?
Yeah, I think that's just maturity, which is the second thing I would say is just physical maturity, but also mental maturity, and that just comes from experience. You know, that's just something you just have to go through things. You have to experience it, and if you're you know, if you got the right work ethic, and certainly you got the talent to go with it, you get better. And he's got unbelievable work ethic. He's a very smart kid, and he loves feedback. And so, you know, when you're able to watch yourself and really see your mistakes, I just think you can really grow. And so and again, he got better. You saw it in the year last year. He got better as the season went. He really finished well. I think that propelled him. He's always had a lot of confidence in his ability to throw the ball, as we have. I mean, he's a really gifted thrower. I'd say the other aspect is, you know, and it's part of what I was saying about decision making, but using his legs. He was a non-factor for us last year, and he's a fast kid. I mean, this kid can really, really run, but he was almost a 0. He was like a 2, and we only needed him to be a 5. And this year he's like an 8, you know, and it's just because he's so much more opportunistic and patient, and that's again a reflection of the game just has slowed down for him. So you know, we couldn't. You know, last year he wanted to make every play. You know, it's 2nd and 10, and he's sitting there and they're playing coverage, and he's holding the ball, and everybody's drop 8, and he could have made it 3rd and 3, but now it's 3rd and 10. You know, because he's trying to make every first down on every play. So I just think his experience in managing the game and all those things, just his knowledge, his ownership of what we're doing, you know, year 2 has been the biggest thing.
Has the efficiency directly led to play calling and game planning and having better faith in?
When you know more, you can do more, right? I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, when you know more, you can do more. I mean, I always use math as an example. You can't do algebra until you can add and subtract and long division. You know, you can do more when you know more. And it's just a process that we all go through in education and learning. So it's no different at quarterback. Certainly, he's just got more on his plate this year because he knows more. So because of that, he can do more. And then we're better around him. You know, so it's not just him. I mean, we weren't as good as we needed to be around him last year. There was plenty of opportunities where we could have made some plays that were there that we didn't make. But just talking about him and his area, you know, he needed to physically improve. He needed to take another step mentally, you know, as far as just applying the experience and slowing the game down. And a big part of that was minimizing the avoidable negative plays and really being a factor with his legs. And he's really done a good job of that.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Okay, appreciate it.
Phil Moffel.